I'm going to go over the 3D model for this part here called the lever bracket. Looking at the sketch, we can see that there are these kind of three main circular areas tied together by lines or curved arcs. The 3D model looks like this, so there's some cutouts. Looking at the measurements here, the thickness of the part is 45 millimeters, and other key features is the angle between the line connecting these two circles and the line connecting these two circles is 82 degrees. So the way that I'm going to approach this is draw what you see here in a two-dimensional sketch that is fully constrained, and then do a full extrusion that is 45 millimeters. And then I'm going to work through some other extrusions to cut the remaining parts away so that it looks like this. So let's see, we have a 22 and a 48 millimeter diameter circle, and then a 16 and a 34. So we'll start with that at 72 millimeters apart. So 48 and 22. So going to the 3D model, we're going to go File, New, and we're going to go Standard Millimeter Part, Create. Make a 2D sketch on the XY plane. And so we'll do the larger circle here at 48. And I think it was 22. And then up here, again, I already forgot, so we got to flip back. We have a 34 and a 16. So we'll dimension this at 34. Then we have another one at 16. We do need to make sure that this is dimensioned, so I'm dimensioning the distance between the center of this and the center of this at 72. And then I do want to ensure that this is vertically constrained, so I'm going to hit the vertical constraint button, hit the center here and here, and then those are constrained. Then I have a couple other circles over here. I'm just going to draw a couple and then look up the dimensions. And looking at the dimensions of that, so they are 18 and 8, and the distance from the center of this to the center of this is 88, and then that angle is 82. So 18 and 8. So larger one is 18, and the smaller one is 8. Now we need the distance between these two to be 88. What I'm going to do is draw a construction line connecting them. So here is a construction line, and I'm going to draw a line from here to here. Zoom in, make sure it snaps in. Hit escape and then get out of the construction mode. And then I'm going to dimension along that line. So I'm going to hit D for dimension. Notice that this is not along the line. This is a horizontal measurement. So what I need to do is right click and go to Align. And then it gives me along that line, and I want that to be 88. Now this angle between the y-axis here and this needs to be 82 degrees. So what we can do is expand this. Under the dimension, make sure I click the dimension button and it's still depressed there, so I'm going to click here and then click the y-axis here and get that to be 82 degrees. So now that that's set, let's go back to the drawing. You see that we have a tangent line connecting this. Then we have this arc here that's 45 millimeters away from the center here, that is 40 degrees off the y-axis, and it has a radius of 8, so a diameter of 16. So let's do that one, because that defines the other lines and arcs. So I'm just going to put the general location, and I can't remember the dimension again, so I'm going to need to pop back to the drawing. The drawing said a radius of 8. So that would mean that this is 16, not 12. And then I'm going to do the same thing. Make a construction line from the center of this to this. And then hit escape and get out of the construction mode. And the dimension of this align dimension is 45 millimeters. And then the arc, so the dimension between this and this is 40 degrees. So now that I have that place, that will help me get the lines that I need a line between here and here. I need to make sure that that line is tangent with each of the circles. I'm going to make another line from here to here on this side of the curve. Notice that when I did that, it already made that made a tangent constraint for this circle, but not one for this one. So I'm going to go tangent this line and this circle. You can always check the constraints on a given selection by hitting the constraint, show constraints. Looks like they're already being shown here. Looks like that was already depressed is why. And so they're basically 2 coincident constraints and 2 tangent constraints. Okay, now I need the arcs that go between these circles, between here and here and here and here. And so looking at the drawing, you can see we have a 60 millimeter radius curve here and an 100 radius curve here. So going to the drawing, we're going to go to arc, and we're going to use just a 3-point arc. I'm going to click here and here, making sure it snaps in. And then basically I want this to be 60. And then I want between here and here, the arc is the same direction, but I want that to be 100. Now I do need to make these tangent. And so I'm going to make this tangent with this. And go around and make sure that they're tangent with the respective circles. And now we have a fully constrained drawing. There's a lot going on here. We could take a moment to double check that all the measurements are right, but we can see that it is now fully constrained. Once you've verified that the measurements are good, notice here the measurements are kind of overlapping. What you can do is hit escape and kind of drag the numbers. You're not moving anything, you're just changing the position of where the numbers are at so they're more easily readable, because some of them are definitely hard to read. And so you can take a minute to do that if you'd like, and that would make it easier just to confirm that your measurements are all right. Once we've confirmed that the measurements are all right, we can do an extrusion, and we can extrude all basically except the holes. You can do this. I don't want the center hole, so I got to be careful. I want this, not the center holes, and that, and then this to be extruded to 45 millimeters. But instead of extruding it one way, I'm going to do the symmetric extrude like I've done in prior earlier designs. So now that we have that, I'm just going to hit OK. Now we have this. Now let's go back to the drawing and see what we need to do. Looks like we need to extrude this section here down a distance of 5 millimeters on each end, on each side. So to do that, I'm going to make a sketch just on this side. Then I'm going to project the geometry here and draw a couple of circles that snap into these circles. And so let me zoom in a little bit. Let's say that you don't make it the exact size. And so I'm just quickly doing that. If you're really careful, you can just do this in one step and have them map in and kind of snap into the right size. But if they're not, you can just do a tangent and select this circle and select that circle. So now that we have this, we can hit E for extrude, or you can hit finish sketch and extrude, but it's quicker just to hit E. Select this. We don't want to add material, we want to cut material, and we want to cut 5 millimeters. So 5 millimeters, and I'm going to cut, and then I can hit OK. So that gave me one side. Now, what we can do for the other side, instead of just doing all of those steps, we can mirror that. And that's a much better way. So we're going to hit the mirror button. The features that I want to mirror are this extrusion. Now the plane that I want to mirror it about is the XY plane, because the XY plane bisects the part. You can see that the XY plane is at the middle of the part because my original extrusion was a symmetric extrusion. So then I can hit OK, and it cuts out the other side. Now what's left, I'm looking at the drawing here, is this cutout in the middle. All of this is cut out, and the only part that goes all the way through is the large circular or the large cylindrical section. So to do that, I really want to sketch in the middle on the XY plane. So I'm going to select the XY plane and make a sketch. Now, what I really want to do is be able to see where the sketch is at behind, because half the part is obscuring my sketch. And so if I hit F7 or function F7, depending on your laptop, you might have to hit function. On mine, I do. It gives me the cross-sectional or cutaway view. Now I can project geometry of all this. I'm going to project the geometry of that circle and that circle. And that's what I'm going to extrude cut away. And to look at what we need to cut, let's go back to the drawing. That distance is 16 millimeters. And so what I'm going to do is go extrude, and I'm going to select this, this, and this, and I'm going to cut a distance of 16 millimeters. But I'm not going to cut just one way. I'm going to do the symmetric extrude, which is 8 in each direction. It's kind of hard to see because I have half of the part hidden, but you can see a little bit better now. I'm going to extrude 8 this way and 8 this way, symmetric extrude about the XY plane, to cut out all that material. Hitting OK, it gives us the final part. So once you have the final part, get a nice view where I can see it, and then do the Windows Shift S. Make sure that you select this and paste it into the assignment. And so you can just go down here and hit Control V, get it in the right spot. So Control V, definitely resize it so it's not quite so large. It doesn't take up quite as much space. Looks like. Okay, and then I do also want the model browser. So I want you to get a snip of this. So Windows Shift S, give me a snip of the model browser so I can see what sketches you have used or the extrusions you've used, that you did indeed use the mirror feature and then that final extrusion there. It helps me see the steps you used to design it. Doesn't show me everything, but it shows me many of the steps that you made to design it. And once you get those pasted in, you can readjust these so that they're side by side, but they don't have to be. But you can do it something like that so they fit side by side. And that is the part. I'll have the actual drawing in a separate video.